Friends, we're all back together for the next episode of the Juicebox Podcast. Welcome.
Hi, my name's Kiley. I've had type 1 for almost 12 years now, and I live in Wisconsin.
Check out my algorithm pumping series to help you make sense of automated insulin delivery systems like Omnipod 5, Loop, Medtronic 780G, twiist, Tandem Control IQ, and much more. Each episode will dive into the setup, features, and real-world usage tips that can transform your daily type 1 diabetes management. We cut through the jargon, share personal experiences, and show you how these algorithms can simplify and streamline your care. If you're curious about automated insulin pumping, go find the Algorithm Pumping series in the Juicebox Podcast. Easiest way, juiceboxpodcast.com, and go up into the menu. Click on series, and it'll be right there. Please don't forget that nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan or becoming bold with insulin. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by the Contour NextGen blood glucose meter. Learn more and get started today at contournext.com/juicebox. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by US Med. usmed.com/juicebox or call 888-721-1514. Get your supplies the same way we do from US Med. Today's podcast is sponsored by the insulin pump that my daughter has been wearing since she was 4 years old, Omnipod. Omnipod.com/juicebox. You too can have the same insulin pump that my daughter has been wearing every day for 16 years.
Hi, my name's Kiley. I've had type 1 for almost 12 years now, and I live in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. You're not from there, though.
No, I am.
You are?
Mm-hmm.
How long did you work on getting rid of that accent?
I'm from the Milwaukee area originally, which doesn't necessarily have the strongest Wisconsin accent, but it comes out every once in a while for sure.
Show off. We'll get to it. 12 years. How old are you?
26.
26. Oh, wow. So you were but a child.
Yes. So I was 14. It was right after 8th grade.
Awesome. Right before high school?
Yep. I also got braces that summer, so that was fun.
Oh, well, what a nice thing.
Yeah, just pile everything on within 3 months. Diabetes, braces, high school.
You got braces and diabetes.
Yep.
And crippling, I don't know, self-confidence issues. How do you remember the time?
So I started showing symptoms really in March. So I was diagnosed in June. And this is looking back at the time, I didn't really know. So my cousin is also type 1, and she was diagnosed the November before me. But she was 2, almost 3, so quite a bit younger. And we were at my uncle's house, at my aunt and uncle's house for Father's Day. And my mom was talking to my uncle and said, I'm really concerned about Kiley. She's been losing all this weight, drinking all this water. And he's like, well, we've got a test kit here. Let's just poke her finger. And so I was upstairs with my cousins, and they came upstairs and they said, Kiley, we're going to test everybody's blood sugar for fun. You go first. I was like, well, I'm not that stupid. I know something's up. And
I'm not that stupid. Might be the title of your episode. Go ahead.
And so they tested my blood sugar and it said high. Like, well, that's not good. And they tested it again, still said high. I went downstairs, ate some more food because, I was starving. And then they didn't come back down. And I went back up and they were all crying. And we're really sorry, but you have type 1 diabetes. We've got to go to the hospital. So we went off to Children's, and thankfully I didn't have to stay overnight, but.
Wait, hold on. Why didn't you have to stay overnight?
They weren't concerned about me going into full-blown DKA. I had ketones and everything, and my blood sugar was incredibly high, but they were able to get it down. And then the next day we went back in and they had classes for us. So an immediate concern, they just kept me there for a while, gave me an IV, fluids, insulin. And then I came back the next day and they took my fasting blood sugar and.
I see. Went from there.
Yeah.
You spent time in the hospital then?
About probably 6 hours.
You went home that day?
Yeah.
Interesting. Hey, did they complete the charade and test everybody else's blood sugar? Or once they got yours, were they like, we're not really testing everyone's?
No, I don't think they tested anyone else's.
I find that insulting. I just want you to know.
Yeah, they weren't really good at hiding their intentions. Like, I think I knew something was up. Like, I wasn't really surprised. I can't make it 20 minutes in the car without having to go to the bathroom. Like, something is wrong, but I didn't really want to say anything.
You thought something was wrong with you?
I don't think consciously necessarily, but like once I saw it and I was like, oh, this makes sense.
You start putting the math together. You're like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom used to like think she was getting one over on you, but it was so telegraphed and obvious. And like, it just reminded me of that when you said like, Kiley, we're all going to test our blood sugar for fun. You go first. like that would have been my mom. I would have been like, hey, guess what we're doing, everybody? I'm like, uh-oh, what is she trying to trick us into? Oh my gosh. Well, and they couldn't even hold it together. They were crying when you came back.
Yeah. I think if they would have done it like before a meal or something, or like when they were already testing my cousin's blood sugar, it would have been a little bit more convincing. But just the fact that it was
the way it was
randomly. Yeah.
All right. Before we move on, take a sidebar. Explain to me what a cheese curd is.
I don't exactly know, but it's
good for you, Kiley. Good for you.
I know. It's just like this squeaky cheese that is often like, they are very good, but often deep fried. If you go to any farmer's market here, there will be like 3 stands selling them. And
last thing, explain to people to what degree the entire place shuts down when the Packers are playing.
Depends on if bars and restaurants, very busy. Mm-hmm. Grocery stores, very empty.
Just everyone's watching a game somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
There's the few Bears fans who are out doing something else, but
they don't count.
No.
I've only been to your state one time, and I'm sorry to say it was to go visit my mom before she passed away. But
yeah, you said in Oshkosh, right?
Yeah, it was a nice place, except for something called lake flies that apparently are, what are those?
They're just like flies that are around the lake, and they are annoying and bite, and there's lots of bugs in the summer in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I handled it. I want to just say for the record, my brother Rob was freaked out when we saw them. He acted much like a baby. I just want to say. Okay, so you got your diabetes. Now the summer's really getting going. And also I don't mean to like put it, we've just met and all, but probably just became like a woman recently too, right?
Not quite, actually.
Oh, hadn't gotten to that point yet.
No, that also came after. So that was probably delayed by my diagnosis.
Diabetes, braces, and that all in that summer, or no, it was later?
No, that was like 8 months later. That was actually on my birthday, so that was fun.
Sorry, I didn't mean to hit a nerve. I didn't realize that there was an actual memory.
No, it's just one of those. It was a significant day because it was my birthday. I was like, well, this is great. Like,
yeah, it's listen, Arden's been in this phase of her life for many, many years now. I'm still watching her come to grips with it. She's like, this is not fair. And I'm like, no, I see that. So you get your diabetes. You start with, I'm going to try to guess a little bit here. It's 14 years ago. You get a pen, or how did they start you with your management?
Yep. I started on a pen for both Humalog and Lantus. And so actually, because my cousin was diagnosed before me and my next door neighbor also was type 1 at that first class, I asked, I was like, so when can I get a pod? And they're like, how do you know what that is? Like, they're like, well, let's just figure all this out. And after 6 months, I started on the Omnipod because they were going to make me wait a year. But then my dad basically convinced, I don't know how, but he convinced the doctors and nurses to let me have it before then.
Did you end up having an oddly close relationship with your younger cousin, even though your ages were off?
My family's all pretty close, but like we definitely have a different relationship. She gets it and I get it. So we talk about it occasionally, but honestly, not that much.
No, you've never once joked that she gave it to you?
No, that would have been a good one.
Well, do you think that's possible? You know, it's funny why you were saying this. I'm going to say this quietly. Yesterday, I saw my brother-in-law, and it's still wintertime here. Like spring is sprung and all, but like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. God, I miss everybody. We haven't seen each other in a few months. I'm like, yeah, it's wintertime. Like, you know, everybody's hunkered down and everything. And the part that I went unsaid was, you guys get us sick a lot when I see you in the winter. So I don't know if it's really you, but when I see you in the wintertime, I end up sick usually. So that's part of the reason.
I was sick the February before like started showing symptoms. So I feel like that was kind of the catalyst for everything. But
do you genuinely feel like your health was waning before then?
Before I was diagnosed?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
We had spring break that March, and like normally you gain weight on spring break. And that was the first spring break and only that I lost weight. Mm-hmm. And from there, I just kept losing weight. By the time I was diagnosed, I was probably 5'7", 5'8", and only 100 pounds.
Oh, wow. That was pretty thin, yeah. Giving away Wisconsin's greatest secrets. We all gain weight during spring break over here. It was very, very strange. Everyone talked about it. Do you see Kiley's lost weight during spring break? What's going on?
We were on vacation, so like you're eating food that is not the best for you.
I get you. What prompts you to want to come on the podcast 14 years later?
You had posted a couple months ago that you're looking for people to fill some spots, and I considered it. And I like talking about diabetes and all of my friends and experiences from it. And I thought someone hopefully could benefit from something.
Awesome. So very specifically, when you were like, oh, he's looking for people to be on the podcast, you thought I'd like to talk about community and friendship? Today's episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by Omnipod. And before I tell you about Omnipod, the device, I'd like to tell you about Omnipod, the company. I approached Omnipod in 2015 and asked them to buy an ad on a podcast that I hadn't even begun to make yet. Because the podcast didn't have any listeners, all I could promise them was that I was going to try to help people living with type 1 diabetes. And that was enough for Omnipod. They bought their first ad, and I used that money to support myself while I was growing the Juicebox Podcast. You might even say that Omnipod is the firm foundation of the Juicebox Podcast. And it's actually the firm foundation of how my daughter manages her type 1 diabetes every day. Omnipod.com/juicebox. Whether you want the Omnipod 5 or the Omnipod DASH, using my link lets Omnipod know what a good decision they made in 2015 and continue to make to this day. Omnipod is easy to use, easy to fill, easy to wear. And I know that because my daughter has been wearing one every day since she was 4 years old. And she will be 20 this year. There is not enough time in an ad for me to tell you everything that I know about Omnipod, but please take a look. Omnipod.com/juicebox. I think Omnipod could be a good friend to you, just like it has been to my daughter and my family. ContourNext.com/juicebox. That's the link you'll use to find out more about the Contour NextGen blood glucose meter. When you get there, there's a little bit at the top. You can click right on blood glucose monitoring. I'll do it with you. Go to meters, click on any of the meters. I'll click on the NextGen, and you're going to get more information. It's easy to use and highly accurate. SmartLight provides a simple understanding of your blood glucose levels. And of course, with second chance sampling technology, you can save money with fewer wasted test strips. As if all of that wasn't enough, the Contour NextGen also has a compatible app for an easy way to share and see your blood glucose results. ContourNext.com/juicebox. And if you scroll down at that link, you're going to see things like a buy now button. You could register your meter after you purchase it. Or what is this? Download a coupon. Oh, receive a free Contour NextGen blood glucose meter. Do tell. ContourNext.com/juicebox. Head over there now, get the same accurate and reliable meter that we use.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you've got a great community on the Facebook group. And before I joined that, I found my own group here. And I don't know, I feel like I've taken advantage, like used diabetes to have experiences that I wouldn't otherwise. Like I went to diabetes camp. There used to be these conferences that were young adults with type 1, and I went to a few of those. And I also very active in breakthrough T1D activities.
It's so proper not calling it JDRF. That was awesome. Look how you did that.
I know. I had to catch myself.
Do you know that I was coming to your area to give a talk when COVID hit and they canceled it? They shut down everything else pretty quick. Like They were supposed to have, I think the Milwaukee area gala was supposed to be that weekend, and then they canceled it. It's very possible that's when I was coming. So I remember I was at my son's baseball thing for college, and I was standing outside on a field. My phone rang, and they were like, we're not doing this. We're canceling." I'm like, it'll be fine. And then like a day later, I was like, yeah, I'm hearing more stuff. I don't think it's going to be fine. And it just never got rescheduled. Well, it's interesting you bring up the community too, because that entire infrastructure changed so significantly around then. Mm-hmm. Not a call out, but Breakthrough T1D very specifically changed how they did a lot of their in-person stuff. And they thinned out, I think that's a polite way to say it, they thinned out a lot of their staff at local areas too.
Yeah, we went from 3 separate chapters within our state to combining to just one.
Yeah, and you're asking a few people to try to cover a lot of ground, and it just becomes difficult. So let's talk about then what you got out of that. Like when you went to those early meetings, even before JDRF, what were you looking for when you went? What did you end up finding?
At the hospital or just for like
the community, like gatherings and things like that?
I don't know. It's just always been really nice to like meet someone and instantly like they understand everything. And not that I mind explaining what type 1 is and everything that goes along with it, but it's nice to not have to. Like, it's nice to meet someone and they're like, oh yeah, you've got type 1, so do I. And you can talk about things, or they might have tips that you haven't heard or do something differently. And just, I feel like very helpful to be able to talk to people.
Yeah. So in the beginning, it's just not having to explain yourself is very valuable.
Yeah. I think it just instantly connects you with people. Like, there's been a lot of times in public where someone will come up to me and just like show them, like, my pod's usually visible. Mm-hmm. And they're like, you've got type 1, and like show me their pump, and we like talk for a little bit and then go on our way.
Did you ever go through a time where you took care of yourself? You're not burned out, but you don't want to know 1 ounce more or talk 1 second longer about it than necessary?
I'd say a little bit. So like 2 years ago, like coming up on 10 years felt like, wow, that's a long, long time for me to have it. Like hitting double digits felt significant. And I just I didn't not take care of myself, but I just was like, this sucks. Like, still I've been doing this for 10 years. Like, I'm kind of done.
Yeah. Like, God, it's still here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like, can you describe that part of it? Like, so what do? Do you like slide into like a minimal care mode enough that you're healthy, but not enough to like, you just don't want to hear 1 more second about it? Is that how it feels, or how would you describe it?
Like, I didn't really stop doing what I was doing. I didn't really change anything. I take that back. I wasn't stressing as much about being just like a little bit high. Like, I wasn't seeing like a 150 and thinking, oh, like I should get this down right now. I was more okay with that riding, which is, I mean, not high, but not where I want to be normally. Yeah. So I just kind of loosened it a little bit, but I think at that time I was on the Omnipod 5.
Okay.
But
I see. How long did it last for, that feeling of like,
just maybe like a month or so. It really wasn't that bad.
No kidding. So do you think it's just the anniversary that made the feeling come?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, just kind of threw it in your face. Okay. So going back to meeting people in real life, are any of those people still friends to this day?
Yeah. So the second year I went to diabetes camp, that was after my sophomore year of high school. I made a friend there, and she lives in the city that I do now. So we still hang out and see each other. And then I'm part of the Breakthrough T1D ride group. So I see those people twice a week during the summer because we go for bike rides around. Usually afterwards we get dinner, or if someone's hosting, like have a potluck at their place.
How tight-knit is that ride group? Is it very state-centric, or like were you impacted when that group of people passed away recently in a car accident?
Yeah, so that was actually people from our group. So they're initially in the Madison group, but they didn't ride with us as much, but a very impactful group within the community. And a lot of the people that I bike with regularly are good friends with them. And so
just shocking. Yeah.
That was a hard time for our group, and it'll be a hard time this summer for sure.
Oh, is the next time you ride will be the first time you've ridden since then?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's terrible. one of the people had been on the podcast a couple of times, but I mean, I didn't know anybody personally. Still, it was just, shocking is the right word. A crazy accident. So,
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't mean to be a bummer. For some reason, I thought they were in a different state than you and you might know them. And I'm like, do you happen to know these people? And they're like, yes, they're right here.
So
sorry.
I actually coincidentally, like you had posted a group, all of your like advocacy stuff for like Diabetes Awareness Month. And then I saw that Michelle had been on a couple of your episodes and I hadn't listened to them. So I went back and listened to them. And in the second time she's on, she's talking about our jerseys for Wisconsin have mile 23 on our sleeves for her son. And this was the first time I had met her. And so she actually tells the story of the first time we met.
Oh, really? That's in the podcast?
Yeah.
No kidding.
I think she calls me Kiley though, but I was like, I remember that.
Close enough. She got a lot of the letters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Actually, she just eliminated one, really. You would have been okay. And this is your mom's fault for giving you this fancy name, I think.
They got it out of a baby book, so.
Oh, no kidding. Has your life gotten bad since the Kylie Kelsey person has gotten famous?
No, she seems like a fun person. Was Kylie Jenner before her, and I like Kylie Kelsey better than I like. This was better Kylie for Jenner, you? So, yeah.
But do people actually like hear your name and go, oh, like Kylie Kelsey?
No, in high school, there was one kid who, like, he's the first time he always forgot my name because we weren't in a lot of classes together. So every time he'd ask, he's like, oh yeah, like Kylie Jenner. I was like, yep, different spelling though. So
yeah, that's me. Great. Okay. So meeting people in person has been a big deal for you. Would you explain to people how, and then I want to move to a different idea, but like, what has that given you? What has, not just in the moment, but what's endured for you over time after meeting other people? Diabetes comes with a lot of things to remember. So it's nice when someone takes something off of your plate. US Med has done that for us. When it's time for Ardent supplies to be refreshed, we get an email. Rolls up and in your inbox says, hi Ardent, this is your friendly reorder email from US Med. You open up the email, it's a big button that says click here to reorder, and you're done. Finally, somebody taking away a responsibility instead of adding one. US Med has done that for us. An email arrives, we click on a link, and the next thing you know, your products are at the front door. That simple. usmed.com/juicebox or call 888-721-1514. I never have to wonder if Ardent has enough supplies. I click on one link, I open up a box, I put the stuff in the drawer, and we're done. US Med carries everything from insulin pumps and diabetes testing supplies to the latest CGMs like the Libre 3 and the Dexcom G7. They accept Medicare nationwide, over 800 private insurers, and all you have to do to get started is call 888-721-1514 or go to my link, usmed.com/juicebox. Using that number or my link helps to support the production of the Juicebox podcast.
Especially for like the breakthrough T1D stuff. It's just nice being around people who are, even if they're not type 1, but they have a connection, or even the people who like they don't have a connection. I think that's even greater. It's just reassuring to see that there's so many people who are like dedicated to trying to find a cure and better treatments. And it's just also all the people that I've met are always like super fun, super nice. And it's nice to be able to talk to someone and trying to work like in person, work through like, hey, I'm having this issue when I'm doing this. Has this happened to you? Mm-hmm. That type of stuff.
It's just really valuable when people see you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now in every walk of life, but I see how that brings that. So then when the internet keeps exploding through your life with diabetes, and now you can meet people online who have type 1, is the experience similar or is it different online than it is in person?
For me, I more use like online for like quick questions, and I haven't really made any type 1 friends. Well, that's also kind of a bit of a lie.
How many times have you lied in the last 20 minutes, Kylie?
I know. I keep like remembering things as I'm talking. In college, I was part of a type 1 group. And so especially during COVID, we would meet up with other colleges and like just kind of play games online. And so that was fun. That was more social.
It's still social, like connected, and it brings the same thing. Like, doesn't matter if it's in person or online, you get the same kind of zhuzh from it.
Yeah, I prefer meeting people in person just because I feel like it's easier to talk to someone and get to know someone that way. But
yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. Okay. I got this message last night online about what the podcast had done for somebody. You know, it was pretty long. Like, I'm not going to read it to you or anything like that, but it was long. And even as I was reading it, I thought, oh, that's awesome. Like, I can't believe it does that for people. And it's weird because I think I know it. Like, I know it does it for people. Like, I've been told enough times, you know what I mean? That, and yet for some reason, like, it still shocks me when it happens. Happily, like, I'm like, oh, good, there's been value here for this person. But when they explain it or when you talk about it, it's always deeper than I can imagine it for some reason. Like the value for you, I guess, is what I mean. Like,
yeah, I understand what you mean. Yeah, it's just nice having that community and resources available.
Some people are just overwhelmingly grateful for it. It always makes me wonder, like, what were they missing or what did they need that this was so impactful to them?
Like, especially if you don't know anyone in person or like before you or your kid or family member is diagnosed, I think having that online community to at least get you started and point you in the right direction is awesome.
Yeah. And I guess just if you feel lonely too, like what a great lift it is to get rid of that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So tell me a little bit about growing up with diabetes. What was your takeaway through high school?
In high school, like looking back, I definitely didn't manage it as well as I could have been, but I went to the doctor and they said I was doing great. So I didn't think I needed to do anything else. Mm-hmm. But like, it really didn't impact like what I did. Like, it was a part of my life, but I never considered like letting it stop me from doing anything. And I do remember that the doctors telling me that right away. They're like, you can still do whatever you want. It's not going to stop you from doing anything. But I also had already known people who had it and I knew that they did whatever. So it just never really was a thought.
You didn't need to be told that, but it was a nice backup. Like it was valuable to hear still.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Like, you're going into high school and everybody's starting to feel themselves, or some people aren't. You get diabetes and braces. Like, does it change your social structure, or did things chug along, or did you find people pulling away from you? Was there any experiences like that?
No, I've been really lucky. I've had really close friends. Like, one of my best friends, even to this day, I've known since I was 4. And a lot of my friends I've been close with since like elementary school or high school. And even though like we live in different cities and went to different schools, like we've all just stayed in touch and have remained really close. So all my friends, like a lot of them came and did the walks with us, or they've volunteered with me, and they've been really supportive throughout everything.
Yeah, you had good friends. They continued on that path.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Did you have any trouble dating?
No, it never really seemed to be an issue. And if it was an issue for someone, I was unaware of it.
Okay. Yeah. So even if it had been an issue, you had such a good experience, you couldn't tell me right now. Like, if there was a person out there that was just like, oh yeah, Kiley, I did not talk to her because of this, you wouldn't even know that.
No.
That's pretty awesome. Did your parents foster this feeling, or was it, do you think it's your energy?
I mean, my parents have also always been very supportive of me, and like they have always helped out with volunteering and rides and walks and like just fundraising to try and find a cure. And if I ever need it, like my mom, she always took care of all my prescription stuff, especially with when we had to go through, I don't know if you ever had to use Edge Park for Dexcoms.
I have had to use Edge Park.
Yeah, so she would call them 8 times to figure out why my prescription hadn't been sent yet. And so she always was very helpful with that type of stuff.
I've always been very grateful for Edge Park for making me comfortable cursing at people on the phone. It's not a thing I was comfortable with at first.
I'm sure she was close or did, because she's like, I don't know why. Like, they said it, they don't have the prior authorization. I just sent it to them like 3 months ago. I don't know why I have to do this every time. I was like, thanks for going. And thankfully, by the time I was off to college, I could get them through Walgreens. So we didn't have to do that anymore.
The amount of times I've said to somebody, no, I don't have a fax machine because it's 2020. You're saying you'd like me to fax that to you? I started saying, like, you guys know there's other ways to do this. Is everyone not stunned when in 2025 someone says, can you fax that to us? And you think, how would I do that?
Yeah, I would be like, I can send it to you in an email, but
I can magically take a photo of it and have it in your hand 5 seconds from now. But I don't have a telephone that has a printer on it. They're behind. I'm sure there's a reason. I'm sure the infrastructure's old. I'm sure they're tied into other systems that are old. There's clearly no discussion back and forth. Like that whole thing of like, I need to get, verification that you still have diabetes. Well, I've had it for 15 years. I know, but we got to be sure. And like all that
it's
stuff.
Type 1. It's not going away.
I also think some of that is just, I wouldn't call myself a conspiracy theorist, but I do think that like insurance companies make things difficult on purpose. And so like, I think it's some of that. I've also known people who've worked at those companies, and trust me, if you said to them, like, why is this so frustrating? They'd say, I know, we're trying. You know what I mean? Like, it's just such a weird system you caught in.
And you feel bad that you're getting upset with the poor person who's on the phone who has no control over the system. But it's like, I got to get somewhere. And I've called 3 times this week.
Yeah, I will say that I'm trying to think, maybe 3 years or more now, we've been using US Med. They're also sponsors, but like we genuinely use them for CGMs and pumps. And I just want to say usmed.com/juicebox. Call now for your, I'm sorry, I forget the ad. Call now for your free something. So they'll check your blah, blah, blah. Make sure it's okay.
I have been meaning to look into them because for whatever reason, like sometimes it takes like 2 weeks for the pharmacies around here to get my prescriptions. It's like, all right, I'm almost out. I can't really wait for this.
Well, you're so close to Canada. Maybe we've confused the fact that you're there and they're not sending the stuff there anymore. I don't know. Oh my gosh.
Maybe there's a whole other state and a lake in the way, but
is that Michigan? Wait.
Yeah, the UP.
Yeah, we're calling that a state too. Wow, gosh. I don't know. Once it gets that cold during the winter, I don't even think you count. My brother lives very close to you, obviously. And like he's accustomed to it. And there are still times, he's been there forever. And there are still times during the winter that he'll send a note and say, like, you wouldn't believe like what's happening here with the weather right now. It's like there's so much snow, or it's so freaking cold, or like, like that kind of thing.
Last winter it wasn't that cold, but it was incredibly snowy. Like there were like 3 days where people like stayed home from work because separate times we just got a ton of snow just throughout the entire day. And we're like, well, we're not going to work today. Like that would be dumb.
And that's interesting too, because you are a group of people who are not generally stopped by the snow. So, no. That'd be like if a Canadian ran from a penguin. Just unprecedented. I kind of want to go backwards a little bit. Like your little cousin has type 1. There's people around you that have type 1. Are you guys all like a similar background? Are you like from a Nordic background or something like that?
I am, but I don't. So I think there are a lot of like Irish, German, Swedish, Norwegian people in like Wisconsin, Minnesota area. Mm-hmm. But I don't know specifically about some of the other people that I know, but yeah.
Okay.
My cousin and I are.
You are. Yeah. So are there other autoimmune issues too?
Yes. So my cousin is on my dad's side, and then my mom has Hashimoto's and alopecia, and my sister has Hashimoto's, and I have Hashimoto's, but I don't take anything for it yet because my TSH has not been above 2.
Do you have symptoms?
I don't think so. Not that I've noticed, at least.
Don't you think alopecia would be a great radio name in the 60s? Hey, everyone, it's alopecia. How are you? We're here today. We're going to do the news and then talk about the weather and maybe sing a couple of songs. Alopecia. I'll be right back. It'd be an awesome radio name. Awesome.
I never thought about that, but it does kind of sound like a name.
Every time I hear it, it's all I think about. It's just the first time I've said it. There's still times now I'm like, wow, 11 years. I can't believe I've never said that out loud. Every time someone says alopecia, I think, what a great radio name. Well, so a lot of just more like thyroid stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there weight issues in the family?
My grandpa was always pretty large. He actually had type 2 diabetes, but that's really it. For the most part, we're pretty average, I'd say.
Pretty average. What an exciting description for your family.
We're pretty active group, I think. Like no one has ever, I'd say, struggled with their weight. So
People are, I mean, and that biking thing, that's a lot of work. Like, is that a thing that came naturally to you, or is it a thing you picked up for, I was going to say for diabetes, but once you were trying to like have like, you know, connection with the diabetes world?
So the first year we did the ride, my dad and I did it. I had not ever biked more than like probably 5 miles. So it was definitely something that I picked up. Like my dad pressured me. He's like, "You should really do this. We should give it a try." And I was like, "Fine, we'll try it." And then it was really fun. So we've just stuck with it.
You were peer pressured by your father into riding a bike for diabetes.
Yes. Yep. It started out, he's like, "We could just do like 50 miles. And he's like, "Oh, but the metric century is like 60 miles. And I was like, "All right, fine." And he's like, "Oh, but there's a good turnaround spot at 80. I was like, "Dad, we got to stop somewhere."
Was he that guy prior to that, or was he trying to be rah-rah for diabetes for you?
Oh no, he's definitely like all in, like never stops moving. Always like, "What's next? What's next?"
Really?
Type of person.
What kind of work? What kind of, like, generally, what kind of work did he do?
He's a recruiter. So
for the military or for business?
No, for businesses.
Okay. All right. Just got a lot of energy.
Yes. Yeah.
You don't think it's cocaine or anything like that? He's natural?
I mean, if it is, he's been hiding it really well. So
I like to ask an adult, like, because you're older now. Like, you're like, is my dad on the sugar booger? I don't think so. No. I don't think I just think he's got like does he drink a lot of coffee?
He has like 1 cup of coffee and then he's like, "That's too much. I get too jittery." So
no kidding. He's just got good energy. May I share a bike riding story with you?
Yeah.
When I was a child, I was not in what you would call like fantastic. My cousin says there's this like bike-a-thon at the park and we're going to do it. I want to be honest with you. I don't even remember what it was raising money for. But you go around, you say to people like, you know, can you pledge a certain amount of money per mile, that whole thing. And this is maybe the early 80s. So I think it was a big deal if somebody's like, "I'll give you 10 cents a mile." Like, you know what I mean? Like, "Oh, okay, I'll ride 10 miles. You give me $1. Like that was kind of like that. And went to the park. Park had a bunch of hills. And my cousins and I rode 30 miles in this thing. And I was like really proud of myself. I was like, wow, I didn't find it to be difficult. All, you know, it's just great. And then later that night, I was to spend the evening at my cousin's house. And I wish I knew how old I was, but, you know, probably 12, like 13, like in that age range there. You know what I mean? My aunt was like, time for you guys to get cleaned up, got to get a bath or whatever. Like, you know, so like I got a bath. And while I was in the bathtub, every muscle in my body froze up. It remains to this day one of the most painful things that I can still recall. And that's why I don't like to exercise. That's my whole story. I had gone from, how you say, not that active to incredibly active in a 5-hour period. And it was apparently more than my body cared to do. And so everything froze up like a rock. It was horrifying.
Always seems to be someone on rides that like will be going for a long distance and they're like, "Yeah, I've never ridden before. But like, I'll just do this." And it's like, "All right, well, good luck." Like you're probably going to be in a lot of pain by the end of this, but we'll get you through it.
Yeah, I was not okay. I just want to say. And also it was that time of like in the world where I know that this is crazy to people, but there weren't even a lot of like over the counter pain medications. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I think we had Bufferin. Does anybody remember Bufferin?
I've never heard of that.
Mm-hmm. Look at you showing off not being old. Do you think people right now are like, "I got to stop listening to this podcast. He said Bufferin today, and I don't know what he's talking about." I'm going to pull it out. It might still be, it's not still available, is it? Oh, you can still buy this. They're calling it an NSAID now. It wasn't an NSAID back then, was it? Do you want to find out together?
They're calling it a what?
An NSAID, like Advil.
Oh, okay.
Look at you. Do you not know NSAID?
No.
You never get an achy, an owie, or anything like that?
If I have a headache, I take like Advil or Tylenol. I just hadn't heard that term before.
Mm-hmm. Bufferin was recalled in 2012. It was a preventative measure. Everything's fine. It looks like it's been passed around a little bit. It looks like Novartis had it for a while.
So is it just like a brand name or?
Yeah, it was a brand name. Like literally, when I was growing up, there was aspirin and Bufferin. And if you had a pain, they gave you one of those things. There was no like I don't remember Tylenol, or maybe we were too poor for Tylenol. Can you imagine what an episode name that would be, by the way? Too poor for Tylenol.
I feel like that.
If I ever do the podcast, if somebody ever interviews me, I'm like, can we call it Too Poor for Tylenol, please?
That's one thing that like I just definitely didn't realize how much it costs until I like was actually going out and like buying Advil and Tylenol on my own. I thought this would be like $5, but like it's like 30.
I'm enjoying watching my son like be an adult now, and having to go get something. He comes back and he'll ask like, "Do you know how much this is?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I know. Don't worry. That's why you see me crying all the time." Oh my God, yeah. It looks like it. Original formation of Bufferin contained aspirin, magnesium carbonate, and calcium carbonate. So it kind of helped people with stomach irritations, neutralizing stomach acid, and for pain relief. And they called it for an anti-inflammatory fever reducer. But that was it. That was it. Anyway, what I'm saying is I was in a ton of pain, and I don't think that Bufferin was going to do it. And yet that's what they were feeding me. Like, here, take a Bufferin. I'm like, awesome. It was like my personal equivalent of, I don't know, being shot in the in the Civil War and then being like, here, chew on this stick while we cut your leg off. Oh my God. Awesome. Thanks. It's not helping. Anyway, I'm so sorry. You married?
Engaged.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Coming soon or no?
It'll be like just in like 10 months ish.
10 months.
So,
about a year from now, you're saying.
Yeah. Still got some time.
Yeah. Time to back out is what you're getting at. For you.
Yep.
Did you say yes under duress? Were you like, all right, I guess so? Or
there are a lot of people around. I kind of felt some pressure. So,
Do you hate those videos as much as everyone else does? Like, you're like, I don't think she wants to say yes to, oh God, like she's going to.
I just, whenever there's like a ton, like it's at a stadium or everyone's watching, that's just got to be the worst feeling. Like, I don't like the attention on me. So if there were that many people around, that'd be bad. You
would not be looking to be on the Jumbotron. I like it. I love when the girls have the nerve to be like, no. I'm like 70,000 people are watching. Like, why did you think this was a good idea? I barely know you. Get away from me. I always assume a lot of them just later go like, look, I said yes because like your mom was there and people were yelling, but like, I'm not up for this. Like, so.
Yeah, like I didn't want to embarrass you in front of a whole stadium full of people. Like,
did your man do the thing? Like, did he set it up? Were there friends there videoing her? Did you do it more like a human being?
Yeah, well, it was kind of like, so my parents were in on it. And so it was actually at the end of the Breakthrough T1D ride last year.
Oh.
So we had just biked 100 miles and then my parents had the ring, so he didn't have to keep that with him the whole time. Then he proposed after we crossed the finish line.
Oh, so there's a sweaty photo of you somewhere looking happy.
Yeah, it's far enough away that you can't tell how sweaty we are. But
how long had you guys been dating?
It was like a year and a half-ish.
Oh, nice. But you're in do you call yourself your late 20s now? How do you characterize it?
I'd still say mid-20s. I feel like mid-20s is like 23, 24 to like 26, 27.
Okay. We're going to call all the way to 27, mid-20s.
I don't know. It's hard. You got to divide by 3, so it makes things weird.
Stick to that. As you get older, it'll become very valuable. And you're like, oh, I'm not almost 60. No. I'm asking not because I'm like trying to do like, this is your life, but like, are you the diabetes piece of it? Is it a thing he just was good with right away, you're comfortable with? Because it's got to be part of your consideration when you're going to marry somebody, right?
For sure. Yeah. He had no idea what type 1 was when we first started dating. He didn't seem too fazed by it. I don't think. I should have asked him what his initial thoughts were. He's obviously learned a lot and now like knows. I make him get me my low supplies if I'm too low or anything.
Are you just getting married so someone can get you a juice box in a situation? You're like, finally.
Yeah, it's very useful. I would recommend.
Oh boy, I need gummy bears. I was rubbing Arden's head. We were watching TV the other night and she's like, can you rub my head? And I was rubbing my head and she goes, I'm going to have to marry somebody if I need my head rubbed my entire life, right? And I said, I'm like, I don't know how much longer I can do it for you. And she's like, you can see her get like really thoughtful. She's like, all right, maybe I'll let one of these boys talk to me. Oh my God. But like, how well could he run your insulin? Could you look at him one day and just go, you do it today? Could he do that?
No. But that's funny that you say that, because I actually just like last week or 2 weeks ago, I was like, can I teach you how to do this? So if I just wanted a day off, like you could do it and I didn't have to think about it. So something that I'm going to teach him, but he understands the general concepts, but I don't know how much he won't be able to run my pump for sure.
I want to teach you how to do this. Also, I don't like the way you grocery shop, but we can fix that. Do you have a list of things in your head that he's doing wrong that you would like to get straightened out?
No.
So, good for you.
The only thing is he doesn't close the cabinets in our kitchen all the time. Like he'll grab something out of it and just leave the cabinet open.
Oh, what a bastard.
He left for work. He had like a work event where he was, they were doing like a game night and he was grabbing games out of our cabinet. I was somewhere else and I came home and the game cabinet was left open and I just sent him a picture. It's like, are you like, really?
But it's awesome. I didn't know you were Catholic.
I'm not. I was Catholic until like second grade.
It's okay. I feel like I think I'm right. I love the photo sending. Like, see, I didn't know.
It was more just to tease him. I didn't really care.
No, of course not.
It's because like we talked about it the day before.
Yeah, it's just a teasing thing. Everything will be fine, guys. Go ahead, get married. It'll be all right. And by the way, on the other side, girls, we're horrible and we will ruin your life. Just so you know, I didn't want it to sound like it was just a one-way street. But that's okay. So you would like him to understand more, but for your own comfort, not because of safety or anything like that. How is he with low blood sugars? Well,
the safety is part of it too, because I've heard so many like horror stories now from your podcast of people in the hospital. And it's like, I need just in case anything happens, I need someone to be able to run this and like at least keep me stable throughout something. It doesn't have to be great, but at least don't let things go horribly.
Which story sticks out in your head? Because one just jumped into my head, and I think this is well documented, the worst person to ask about the podcast because I'm making it so quickly, I don't remember it as well as I should sometimes. But like, do you remember the girl who had the seizure and her husband just left her in the bedroom all day?
Oh, yes, I do remember that. Yeah, I don't think he would do that.
No, and he did not think he was doing anything wrong. I think he's calling he did all the right things. He's like called out from work. He's like, hey, I'm going to stay here. She's having a problem, blah, blah, blah. But he never really understood to the level that she was in distress.
Yeah, I got food poisoning over Christmas. And unfortunately, like right before, as I was getting sick, my blood sugar was low, but I did not want to eat anything. So he's like, where's your glucagon? It's like, I'm fine. I don't need that yet. I was like, just get me more sugar.
You want to give him a little more context so he doesn't start stabbing you just because you're not hungry.
Well, I got the nose spray, so he doesn't have to stab me.
The, what did they call that? The
Baqsimi.
I just like it when people try to say it. That's all.
I know. Like, it's the nasal spray, the yellow one.
Because sometimes people say Baqsimi, and I'm like, I think you're overpronouncing that spelling.
This is one thing I do wish that I had freshman year of college, because with a roommate that you've never, like, you barely know or have never met, like, I still had the red box, and I was like, here's my glucagon. You should never, ever, ever have to use this. But in case you do, I need you to stab me while I'm unconscious.
Take this powder, just shake it up a little bit, then inject this liquid into it. Now you want to roll that back and forth in your hand until you see the powder's gone. Okay, the powder's gone. You see that? Now you want to stick this giant needle back into the thing. Now pull out all of that stuff. Now get my pants down if you can, please. And then just find a nice meaty part of my cheek and just jam it right in. Then just inject the whole thing. And then see if you can stop me from biting my tongue until 911 comes. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great freshman year.
My roommate, we're still friends. She has later admitted to me, she's like, not going to lie, that freaked me out a little bit, but I understand why you had to tell me.
Can you just imagine your first couple of days of college? Some girl you don't know is like, hey, can I show you this barbaric torture device and how it might save my life one day? But probably not. I also love that part where we all start going, listen, this is probably never going to happen. But just in case it does, please write down these 93 steps.
Yes. Yeah.
And how are you with needles?
Yeah. I'm glad there's quicker and easier options for people now, because it's like, I know how to do it, but if I'm unconscious, I am not any help.
And whichever it is, whether it's Gvoke or the the squeamy, the back squeamy, whichever one it is. Like, I just think the delivery system is so much better. It's awesome,
Yeah. Not having to wait for like to mix things and like is, I think, key.
Yeah. I mean, I've told the story before, but Arden had a seizure when she was 2, and my wife's like, make the thing. And I was like, oh, were you paying attention when they told us that? Because I stopped listening when the guy said, you're never going to need this. He said, you're never going to need this. I was in the middle of like inundation of like information. I was like, well, I'm not going to start remembering the things I don't need, like, because I'm having enough trouble remembering the things I do need. Back then, I was like, I was not good at the carb ratio thing. You know what I mean? Because we used to have to math that. Like, you'd be like, this is 20 carbs. Then you'd do the math to figure out your, whatever. And Scotty wasn't great at that. So, yeah.
When Arden was diagnosed, did they like tell you everything at once, or was it over the course of like a couple days?
It's like 4 days in the hospital.
Okay.
But
yeah, because for me and for a lot of the kids in my area who were diagnosed, they did it like as steps. So like there were like 6 classes and they all sucked. They were just really long and boring. And like first day, we didn't even learn about carb ratios. We just were, they're like, here's an insulin pen. This is how you use it. Like, I don't actually remember what we learned the first day because it wasn't carb ratios. We were just taught how to give ourselves shots, or our parents to give ourselves shots.
Mm-hmm. Inject it into a towel or an orange or banana or something like that. Like, so you know how to do the shots, and then here's the math for the carb ratio, and here's what a carb is, and like all that stuff. I know somebody right now personally who's in the middle of a diagnosis, like an adult diagnosis that's not a quick onset.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting for me to see the feedback from like, oh, today they made me go to a GP, and the GP said maybe this, and like, I said I'd like to go to an endo, and they're like, oh, we have a diabetes nurse practitioner on staff, and like, and I'm like, go to an endo, and then in the middle of it, they're like, they want to test my liver, and I'm like, your liver? I'm like, go to an endo, and meanwhile, I was able to get this person on a CGM, which is great, but like I can see the excursions are getting worse at meals, and like it's, the resting blood sugars are getting higher. And I'm like, I keep saying to them, there's a sincere possibility that you could drift into this. And there's also a possibility that this could like light switch on you. And you don't want that to happen. Like, and here's a list of really valuable endos. Like, you also don't want to get to it's so hard, Kiley, to explain to a person who's never had, a bunch of health issues that every doctor you call is not going to be the best one. They think they are. It's interesting because they've never gone to doctors like this before. They're like, well, we got in with our GP. And I'm like, I actually said, I have a very successful podcast because doctors don't understand diabetes very well. Some of them do. Here's a list of them. Get in with one of those, and they don't feel my level of insistence because they just think it's going to be okay no matter who they talk to. It's it's really interesting. So you have to watch them go to a meeting and then come back and go, hey, none of that made sense. And I'm like, yes, because that person doesn't understand, but they're willing to see us. I'm like, oh yeah, this person will be very willing to kill you. They don't even know they're not doing it right. Like, that's how crazy it is. But this doctor does know, go to this one. But to watch people not be able to properly advocate for themselves right away because it's socially not polite, it's interesting. Like, I didn't, I'm not built like that. So like, it's weird for me to watch a person who is, but they're like, well, they said we should try this, so we're going to do that because that's what they said. I'm like, no, never go back to this person again. It's important to note that these people genuinely believe that I know what I'm talking about, and they still are having trouble doing it. It's interesting. Anyway, I feel bad when people are diagnosed.
Yeah. Even when I was diagnosed and like, we knew what I was going in for, we got to the hospital and they took my blood sugar, and it was, I want to say it was in the thousands or something. It was really high. And like, once they took me back to a room, so they're like, so what are you here for? Like, why do you think you're type 1? Like, just, you took my blood sugar. Like, my blood sugar is incredibly high. Why have I had to tell this to 4 different people now? We all think I have type 1 because of that number on the piece of paper right there. And you know that, right? Because you went to school for this. Like, please. But my point is that when it's you knew because you had a family member, right? Yeah.
But people who don't know, people who are just like, hey, I got this diabetes thing, crazy. Like, they don't know to say, they don't even know what the number means. So they don't know what to fight for. They don't know when to be concerned. Mm-hmm. It's a significant hole you're starting in. Yeah, because if like
I feel like if I just had the number and no one like told me anything, I'd be like, well, I feel fine for the most part. Like I probably don't have to go to the hospital right away. Like, but because I was told I had to go to the hospital, it's like, all right, I guess we're going to the hospital.
That is exactly what I see happening right now with this person. Like, I know that they're not feeling sick. Like, so far they've lost weight.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it wasn't weight they should have lost. So like, they know to be concerned about that at least, but they're not stumbling around sick. They're not, well, how do I mean this? They're not in a situation that they would classically have thought of as sick in the past. So they don't see the immediate necessity of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I find it's upsetting because I want to be like, listen, I actually have said like, just listen to me and go do this thing. And I think they're up to doing that now, which is awesome. But we've been at this like 3 weeks.
Yeah. You shouldn't have to keep telling people like, this is what I think, and then other people keep saying, well, it could be, what if we do this instead?
Yeah. But I want you to keep in mind that without me, they'd be 3 weeks into it, having only seen a GP who told them like, yeah, we should test your liver here. Like that's the extent of what's been said to them so far. You know, anyway.
Yeah. It's always, it frustrates me because it's like, I feel like it should be so easy. Just look at their blood, look at their antibodies. Like to me, it just seems like a quick thing to, even if it's not the issue, it's a quick thing to check off the list to make sure it's not.
Well, listen, if you think it's frustrating from your perspective, or if I think it's frustrating from mine, you should see what happens when actual endocrinologists who know what they're doing, who I know personally, will send me like stories of people's diagnoses, like privately. And how,
I know someone, sorry.
No, just how frustrated they are with other medical professionals.
I know someone who was diagnosed by their eye doctor because she'd been losing weight and like all the classic symptoms. Her other doctor or wherever she went had done a blood draw and like supposedly tested everything and couldn't find anything. And then she finally went to an eye doctor because her vision was getting worse. And this is secondhand information, but had like sugar crystals in her eyes or could see like the retinopathy or something. And that's how she got diagnosed.
Yeah. And the other doctor was never going to do anything. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
No. Listen, I don't know everything, but I was able to diagnose a person over text messages that 2 weeks later, their doctors hadn't told them they had diabetes yet. And I was like, no, this is type 1. They're like, well, finally, they're like, well, they're telling me it might be type 2. I'm like, it's not type 2. And I was like, just get this test. Like I finally was able to get them to get a GAD antibody test. And I was like, just make them, force them. Like, I know you don't know why, just don't leave without this one blood test. And they did that. The test came back and I said, yes, this person has type 1 diabetes. Well, they gave him metformin. I was like, awesome. It's like, you can take it if you want. It's not going to do anything. So, anyway, what a tangled web we weave. Okay, so we're up on an hour here, Kiley. Is there anything we haven't talked about that we should have? Anything I missed, didn't bring out of you, something you wanted to say that you haven't said?
I don't think so.
That's it? We did it?
I think we covered everything.
You've listened to a lot of the podcast, huh?
I have, yeah.
Okay, can you tell me what you like about it? Don't kiss my ass. I want to know. I just genuinely want to know what you like about it.
No, I just like, even outside of the diabetes stuff, I feel like people always have interesting stories, or like there's always, in almost every episode, there's something that I find entertaining. Like either someone just comes out and says something completely wild that like you would never expect. And otherwise it's just like fun interactions, and just everyone's perspective, I feel like, is valuable.
Yeah. Like my father, who is a preacher, we learned like to go to S&M dungeons, stuff like that.
That one. Didn't think I'd be hearing that on a diabetes podcast, but
then in Mountain House, you heard it.
I did. Yes. Yeah.
The amount of times that I've sat forward at this desk and gone, what'd you just say? Hold on a second.
Yeah, I don't think I've got anything crazy that would shock you like that. So
I was diagnosed on a heroin bender. I climbed out the window of my grandfather's house and was running around the streets wildly looking for heroin when the DKA took over. Awesome story.
I think about that episode a lot. Like, I hope she's doing well now.
I think about her too, just so you know. From crazy like that to like funny to like just downright horrifying sometimes, you know, like really. Like,
yeah.
People's stories are interesting.
I'm very thankful I was not in some of those like scary diagnosis situations. Like some of those stories, especially from a parent's perspective, just would be, or just anyone just watching someone go through that would be terrifying.
Yeah. What's your diet like to the stripper? Mostly Jack and Coke. And I was like, what is she saying? Is she being funny? She's not being funny. That was basically her diet. You know, like she sticks with me a lot too, because many months, if not years later, she sent me back a note and said that she finally listened to herself on the podcast and recognized her as not a person she wanted to be and made a lot of changes in her life, which was nice.
That's awesome. And crazy that's kind of how it played out. But
I was just trying to get the idea of like, how do you eat so I could understand her blood sugars. And then she was like, oh, basically I exist on cocaine and Jack Daniels. And I was like, oh, okay. I really did. Yeah. There's a lot of times, Kiley, I have not known what to say next. Whenever you hear me say something really bizarre, it's just because my brain's going, wait, what?
I have that too, where it's like, I sometimes just have to tell people, I don't know what to say to that. Like, you're like, that's okay. I didn't expect you to. I was like, all right, cool. Because that was out of nowhere.
You've exceeded what my data set understands, and I don't know what to do next. So I've learned a lot, like having these conversations. And it's funny because sometimes I try to say that to my family and they make fun of me. Like, hey, you have a podcast. And I'm like, I don't think you understand. Like, and they're not going to listen because it's me. You know what I mean? Like that'd be the strangest thing. Like, did you really know a lot about your dad's work growing up? And it's just like, sometimes I'm like, no, like I have this understanding of something. And, you know, based on the countless people who have said this to me, you know, and it's interesting because you start, you know, people's stories singularly are very interesting. But then when you start hearing them over time and you see similarities in how people think, you can start to really step back and go, oh, I know why I do this. Like, you know, I've heard enough people say this now that like, I can now figure out a thing that I didn't like previously even understand. And I don't know, I think it's awesome. Like, I really like it. I'm glad you like it too.
Yeah. The one thing that this was fairly early on when I started listening. Either I had gone back and listened to an older episode or like you had just said it. The one thing that like made the biggest difference in my management was you said like to set your high alert to be like lower so you could catch it before you went high. And I just kind of sat back and was like, that is the easiest thing I've ever heard. Why didn't I think of that? Like,
that's such a great example of like when I'm like, wait, that helped you? Like, you know, we just put together the small sip series with Jenny. You know, it's been a while. I mean, we've been working on it for a long time, but some people complain they don't like long form content, which is tough because, I mean, it's kind of what I do. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And if I just came up to you out of the blue right now, just a regular person, like somebody who wasn't doing this every day like I am, and so me in the beginning, and said, look, just these things that you say, like just say them real quickly in 5 minutes, but make sure it's very actionable and understandable and not confusing. I would not have been able to do that. I would have been confused by that, but I've honed this over time, right? Like I am at the point now where if you like blurt something diabetes out at me, I can blurt something valuable back out at you, right? Mm-hmm. And so I've been watching for years, while not a large group of people, but you know, a semi reasonable group of like people in the Facebook, you know, group are like, hey, I can't listen to long form stuff, or I have ADHD, it just doesn't work for me, or I don't learn by listening, like that kind of stuff. My kids aren't going to listen to a whole hour. Like this episode of the Pro Tip series is awesome, but I can't get my kid to listen to it. And for years, I would think like, I know I can get to a point where I can do it shorter, but I had to have enough practice and experience talking about it that I could get the idea out more quickly. And then as I was kind of honing that skill, it became obvious to me by listening to people that I didn't always understand what was valuable for them. Like I'll tell a big, long story. You pull a piece out of it. Who knew it was going to be set a lower alarm? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm lucky enough to have that big Facebook group, which by the time your episode comes up, there'll probably be like 61,000 people in that group or something like that. So I was able to go to them because there's such a big community now and lovely and all, and say to them, anything I've ever said in the podcast that was valuable to you, tell me in this, just tell me in here. Like, and I don't mean like, I mean, you can say it was this episode, like that episode, great. But if there was a thing that was said, like a t-shirt slogan that was brought up or something like that, like say it. And we got enough people. Actually, we got a ton of feedback, which was awesome. And what we were able to do was take all the feedback and then go back and basically collate it and go, okay, well, 14 people said this, but 75 people said this. And, almost everyone mentioned this piece right here. So we took all of that, smashed it down into those sayings or those thoughts. Nico went back, and Nico's a person who helps me with the Facebook group. So basically, Isabel took all the stuff and collated it down so that we had it into sections, categories, and removed duplicates, but knew how many times somebody had said something. Then Nico went back into the podcast and found the places where I said it. Then I was able to go back in and listen to it. And then Jenny and I were able to sit down and make 5-minute episodes that really drilled down on this stuff. And they've only been out for a couple of weeks. And they're actually not even all out now. They will be by the time somebody hears this. And I'm already starting to get crazy good feedback from it, from those people who just can't listen through to the one or two things that come up in an episode where well, that's really valuable for me. That process had to happen to get to that. I don't know why I'm bringing this up other than I watch a YouTube channel where a guy builds vivariums. This is very strange. These are very popular, so I don't feel bad saying this, because I think this is a thing a lot of people do. But what I noticed recently is that this guy has been at it for so long, and he was popular the whole time. So he was able to keep doing it. He was able to turn it into how he made a living. And because of that, now you're seeing videos that aren't just him building a vivarium. It's him building it with 10 years of experience, or he'll be able to do a follow-up thing where you go, oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad to know this follow-up thing, this thing that he learned. But you realize that if he had just started making the YouTube channel, there's no way he would have even known to say that. And I feel lucky to be in that position now where this thing has been popular enough that I can continue to do it so that we can start literally going back into the podcast and mining it to learn how to talk to new people. I'm sorry I went on for a while there, but I've been thinking about that for a while.
No, you're good.
Thank you. Kylie's oh, I was wondering if this would happen during my episode.
No, I did just have to go and look up what a vivarium was. I thought I knew what it was, but I had to confirm.
Oh, what did you figure out it was?
Well, I knew what a terrarium was, so I figured it was something similar. So.
It's all the same. It's a big box that has living stuff inside of it. And,
very, very pretty.
During this conversation, at one point, a small dinosaur was staring at me from a large box. For a while, we were talking. And it happens every once in a while. He is looking at me you should go get a roach and bring it over here and give it to me. And he just stared at me for a long time until it got uncomfortable. I looked away. I was I know you're hungry. And I'm so sorry. And I overslept today. Is the absolute truth, by the way. I was a little sleepy last night. I think I had a cold, in case anybody cares. And I slept a little longer than I meant to. Normally, I would have come in here and got these guys settled, and then I would have started. But instead, I came in. They were all oh, the man is here with the bugs. And I was nope, making a podcast. They were what? So anyway, the big one is literally staring. It's looking at me what's going on, man? And for anybody who doesn't know, I probably should have said bug and not roach, because now you're freaked out. But not the roaches you're thinking. So different roaches.
Special ones.
Yo, yeah, they can't fly. That's really a big deal. They can't climb out of a plastic tub, and they can't fly, so they're pretty perfect for this. Anyway, I really do appreciate you doing this and letting me babble at the end. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No, it was a pleasure. Hold on 1 second for me. You are done. The conversation you just enjoyed was brought to you by US Med. usmed.com/juicebox or call 888-721-1514. Get started today and get your supplies from US Med. I'd like to thank the blood glucose meter that my daughter carries, the Contour NextGen blood glucose meter. Learn more and get started today at contournext.com/juicebox. And don't forget, you may be paying more through your insurance right now for the meter you have than you would pay for the Contour NextGen in cash. There are links in the show notes of the audio app you're listening in right now, and links at juiceboxpodcast.com to Contour and all of the sponsors. A huge thanks to Omnipod, not just my longest sponsor, but my first one. Omnipod.com/Kiley. Juicebox. If you love the podcast and you love tubeless insulin pumps, this link is for you. Omnipod.com/juicebox. I can't thank you enough for listening. Please make sure you're subscribed or following in your audio app. I'll be back tomorrow with another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. The podcast contains so many different series and collections of information that it can be difficult to find them in your traditional podcast app sometimes. That's why they're also collected at juiceboxpodcast.com. Go up to the top. There's a menu right there. Click on Series, Defining Diabetes, Bold Beginnings, the Pro Tip Series, Small Sips, Omnipod 5, Ask Scott and Jenny, Mental Wellness, Fat and Protein, Defining Thyroid, After Dark, Diabetes Variables, Grand Rounds, Cold Wind, Pregnancy, Type 2 Diabetes, GLP Meds, The Math Behind Diabetes, Diabetes Myths, and so much more. You have to go check it out. It's all there and waiting for you, and it's absolutely free. Juiceboxpodcast.com. The episode you just heard was professionally edited by Wrong Way Recording. WrongWayRecording.com.